It looks like it's 7:01, so we are going to get started. My name is Kate Deering. I am an admissions coordinator here at Gies Online Programs in the recruitment and admissions space. So great to be here. We are joined by one of our admission counselors, Allison Hodina. She is going to be in the chat and also handling the Q&A. So I encourage you to throw some questions there. And then super exciting, we have hey Allison, three of our current students here as panelists. So this is gonna be great. They're here to share their unique career backgrounds and how they fit into the Gies programs. We will introduce them in a little bit. I am gonna just kind of jump right into the presentation right now. Let's make sure I can share my screen here. Okay. Can you guys all see that? Awesome. So as I said, this is the No Business Background, No Problem iDegree webinar tonight. We are going to talk a little bit about the Gies Online model here at the University of Illinois. We will talk about how we structure our courses. I will give you a brief overview of the iMBA program, the iMSA, and the iMSM program as well. We are going to have time at the end for the Q&A, and I would encourage you to think about some questions for our panelists as well as we move through the presentation. Current students are just such great resources and can offer their perspective and really honest feedback about the program, really different feedback than I can give you. So I would encourage you to drop those questions in the chat. But before we jump into any of that, we are going to start off by hearing from our first student, Keisha. Keisha Craig Otley is a current iMBA student. Keisha, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm really thrilled to be here. So like Kate said, I'm a current iMBA student. I started the program in August 2021. So I've been through one complete semester, just started my second semester, and it's been pretty good. So my background is communications. I've worked in the education industry as well as banking. And I mean, I'm not going to preempt the discussion, but the MBA program was really an ideal fit for where I want to go, take my career for the next step. So, you know, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. And I hail from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean.
Yay, exciting. And one of our professors, Professor Hayden Noel, is also from there. So that's super exciting. Let's just talk a little bit about your motivation in enrolling in the graduate education, being from, you know, a little bit of a less traditional business background of education and communications. What was your motivation, Keisha, and how did you, like, why were you pursuing a business degree?
Yeah, so working in communications, I realized that if you want to get things moving in an organization, in a business, you need to speak the language of business. And even though, you know, being a communicator, and I would have held, you know, some senior positions liaising with a lot of senior management in the organization, at the end of the day, I felt like they didn't take me seriously. Yeah, you know, we like your advice. I mean, yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. But at the end of the day, I was just a person who would string sentences together, make things sound pretty. And for me, that wasn't enough. As a communicator, I think it's really important, or rather, it is important, you know, how we strategize and how we analyze situations to come up with the messaging. And it's not just about putting pretty words together. We really do assess situations. And I realized that I needed to bridge that gap between understanding how a business functions and what's important to business leaders, and bringing that into the conversation to really make a business case for why communications is important in aligning the organization's strategy with employee performance. So I felt like, okay, I need to get into a program that helps me to understand the language of business and be able to speak that back to leaders so that the organization can excel, but I'll leave it there for now.
That's great, just to learn the language, the business language. So in some of your feedback on the program and listening to where you're at right now, it sounds like you're focusing on school full time at the moment. Can you tell me a little bit more about why and how you made that choice?
Yeah, so I essentially was at a crossroad. My last contract position had come to an end and I was trying to assess, okay, what's next? Because of course I didn't want to continue where I was at, where people just kind of take your advice, but maybe not really implement. And I felt like, okay, how do I make that transition? And I came across the MBA program, and I felt like, because this is something that I really want to do with my life right now, I wanted to take the time to really just kind of dig in to the program. It's been a while since I studied at this level, and I really wanted to assimilate everything that was coming to me. So, I mean, I may not go throughout the entire program as a student, but certainly this initial phase, I wanted to really just kind of sit and soak everything in. And, the world aligned to allow me to do that. So here I am.
That's awesome. And I think that speaks a lot to the flexibility of the program, and that, the fact that the majority of our students are full-time working professionals, but it's okay if you want to take a little break and go about it that way. So I think that's great. In going back to school in a different discipline, than your undergraduate degree was, what was important to you in choosing, which program you were going to apply to and join?
Yeah. I describe it as, it had to be something that will get me out of bed on a morning. And when I came across the iMBA, it almost felt like it was too good to be true. So I decided to do some research, because I was like, there's no way that this program fits so, seamlessly with what I wanted to pursue. So I went and I did a search for other MBA programs and compared what the course content was like, and the duration and flexibility and everything. And this just fit. It fit in terms of the content I wanted to cover. It fit in terms of the flexibility of the program. Most courses are, I'm saying they're repeated, but you have like 3 options per week for attending a class. And if that doesn't work, you have the recorded sessions. Even the live sessions, even though it's online, there's still the opportunity to engage and interact with other students. I have a young family. My youngest is 7, my eldest is 12. So I need to have that flexibility, and the program allows that. But yeah, it's just, the entire package for me, it really rang my bell. It was almost too perfect, but I'm happy to report that it's lived up to everything it promised. So, I encourage anyone who is looking for a flexible program, who, and I would say this one last thing before I stop. I would tell people, I never had a thought about pursuing an MBA. I had been searching for a master's program for a long time, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And when I found this program, I found it. I mean, it was everything that I needed. It just coincided with that time in my life when I was trying to ascertain, okay, what's the next step for me? And it's fit in terms of how it will equip me for the next step, as well as how it fits into my personal life. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I love that we can be in the same class as someone in Trinidad and Tobago. I think that's really neat. So thanks for sharing. All right, we are going to jump back in. We'll have plenty of time for questions for Keisha at the end. Let's continue through the presentation. The Gies Business Online graduate degrees are open to students from all kinds of backgrounds, as you can see here tonight. The curriculum is designed to be practical, and to allow students the opportunity to apply their business skills to really any industry. The delivery model itself was created with folks from all kinds of backgrounds in mind. So we have architects, engineers, teachers, CEOs, dentists, you name it, in our program. So, and it's kind of fun. We're often hearing stories of how these students learn something on Monday in their class or their live class or group project, and then they implement what they've learned in all sorts of career fields at, at the end of the week. So we really enjoy those stories. So our model was really designed with three things in mind: flexibility, stackability, and online by design. These three things really make it possible for students from any background to succeed in our programs. So let's talk about online by design. This means that really the program was not adapted to be in this format. You may have noticed during COVID, there are many programs moving to remote learning or online learning. That is really not what we're doing here at Gies. It was carefully curated back in 2016 to be delivered online. And it was designed to be delivered to millions of learners worldwide, regardless of what their background was. You will have highly engaging content, and you can also learn without leaving your job or your family or your extracurricular activities. Also, if you work in non-traditional hours, or for instance, you serve in an on-call rotation or something like that, you can access these courses on your time. And really more importantly, though, is the fact that you can review the lectures and the content as many times as you need in order to master in those skills in that content. Flexibility. So we offer asynchronous courses that are complemented with high engagement components. We're going to talk about these in a little bit. You will work personally with senior professors and special practitioner faculty from companies like Google. You will connect with accomplished fellow students from around the world every day. This program is as global as you can see, with students from all over the world with different backgrounds. We do have many start dates, and 5 to be exact, 5 terms throughout the year. These are 8-week terms. And then we also are okay if you have a personal situation or you're just super busy at work or something and you need to take a term off. You would just have to work with your advisor on that. And lastly, you can tailor your courses to your comfort. So say you want to start with courses that you really feel comfortable in, or say you have a stats background and you want to start with, BATM 572, and then move on to courses that maybe are a little more challenging or courses that you're not familiar with. That's entirely up to you. You can design your degree plan just in any order that you want. There's a few courses that you may need to take in a special order, but and then also you can take one course or double up, whatever you feel comfortable in those 8 weeks. And lastly, stackability. Gies offers this stackability whether you're interested in learning a single skill or earning a full degree. This stackability can help you reach your goals. Our online programs really work together. You can take a single course for upskilling. You can stack that course into a certificate with the addition of 2 extra courses for credentialing. You can also apply that certificate towards your master's degree. So it's really amazing. This bite-sized education is going to allow you to master, business education one step at a time, like on your own schedule. So I want to pause for a moment, and we are going to introduce Janine Mosey. Janine is a current iMBA student as well, and I'm going to let her briefly introduce herself.
Thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm excited to share about the program. As Kate said, I started last year, January, so I finished my first year, and I'm planning to be done in a year and 3 months. Not that I'm counting, but we're getting there, about halfway through. I'm from the Chicagoland area. I've spent my career in education. I worked in a K-12 setting for a while, and now I am in higher ed and have worked I currently serve as vice president for enrollment at an institution, a college in the suburbs of Chicago. So that's a little bit of my background, and I know I'm excited to share my experiences with you all.
Awesome. So yes, higher ed, and congratulations again. I know you've worked really hard in the program and earned a recent promotion, so that's super exciting.
Thank you.
I really want to talk with Janine a little bit about how this program works for her in her, higher ed and non-business education. And so you've probably seen, many ways of delivering education and information in all of in your career. Can you talk about how our model has helped you succeed in your, I guess, business goals and in your search for success?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things specifically with this program, I never thought I would do an online program. It's just not something I envisioned for myself, but I saw within this program something that would give me as close to an in-person experience as I could possibly have without requiring me to have to drive to a campus. I don't have a lot of extra time in my day, and even like a 20-minute drive one way, that would be too much for me. And so I was looking for something that gave that flexibility that I could fit in when I have particular seasons of the year that are really busy. I can take less classes, or I can take ones that maybe aren't as challenging. Other times where I can double up more and I can use that extra time and flexibility I may have in those seasons of my job to take more classes. And so this gave me that flexibility in the seasons of every year. It also allowed me to, when I'm traveling for work, I can take my classes. I've done it from everywhere, on airports, besides pools, at conferences, in between sessions, before I've been able to do it wherever I am. And it still allowed me, though, to have that online flexibility while also having what feels like an in-person experience sometimes, being able to connect with faculty, with professors, being able to get to know classmates and work together. And so I feel like for me, it's been the best of both worlds in that way.
That's awesome. How do you connect with your professors?
Yeah, so I think the biggest things have been office hours.
Okay.
Every class offers at least 2 times, sometimes more throughout the week, where you can meet individually in a Zoom call with faculty and ask questions if there are homework assignments or topics or conversations that came up, be able to connect and ask those personally, and you get to connect, meet them, get to know them, and build those relationships too.
That's awesome. Um, what classes were you concerned about prior to beginning the program? Were there classes that were kind of outside your comfort zone or your
Yeah.
background, and how have you found success in some of those?
Yeah, I had never taken a business class until I got into this program. I have no business background whatsoever, didn't touch it at all in my undergrad. And so I really was just nervous in general across the board, but particularly for the accounting, the finance, and the economics courses. I've always loved quantitative courses, but just felt really unsure about those because they were so new and foreign, and not just at undergrad, but at a graduate level too. And so actually office hours have been one of the best things for finding success in those classes. Just having dedicated time where I can dig into other topics that maybe I didn't fully get or capture. I just needed some additional help, but also study groups. Almost every single one of those classes that are maybe more challenging for me, I have been in a study group of people where we can get together, spend time talking through concepts. Usually there's someone there who knows it more than I do. And we can, one, get to know people, build relationships, but also just have additional resources. So I think those 2 have been the most helpful.
That's awesome. Study groups and office hours. And just to get that one-on-one connection with your professor, I imagine is pretty great too. So as you're moving through your courses, how have you been able to apply what you've learned in these classes to your work in education?
Yeah, so I started off with our leadership and management courses, and that has just been directly applicable. I mean, there were times my poor team at work, they don't even know all the experiments I've been running on them over the last year with my classes, with trying, I did we, in our leadership and teams class, we talked about how to set teams up for success and how to build out teams so when you're having conversations, people can feel heard and be heard and feel like they can present innovative ideas. And so I've been experimenting almost daily with that with my team at work. But even I think more recently, I'm in an accounting class right now. And I actually, January 4, before my accounting class started, I met with our CFO and we were reviewing some of our financial statements, and the numbers made sense to me, but the structure of it didn't. And then just last week, this was 4 weeks later, we met again. We were reviewing the same financial statements. And because I'd had a month of accounting under my belt, all of a sudden, I felt like I was able to actually understand what I was looking at, ask questions, be a little bit more intelligent in that conversation I was having regarding some of our financial transactions for the institution. And so I think across the board, there's been both immediate, the next day, I'm experimenting with my team, or even just broader things like strategy and accounting that has been incredibly applicable.
That's great. And just knowing, that just in the short time you've been in classes, even that you can already apply that. I've taken one of the MOOCs for the leadership and teams, and I was, blown away with just, you'd think you couldn't, there wasn't those ideas, involved where you could really implement those. So that sounds awesome. Thank you for sharing. We are going to jump back in, and we will again have time at the end for more questions. As Janine shared, she has already been able to apply what she's learned in her current position. This is largely due to the fact that we have an emphasis in domain mastery, which is being able to conquer topics before you're going to move on to the next one. In our degree programs, you will master subject matter in short amounts of time. We offer courses in quick 8-week terms for maximum impact. You're kind of in and out. It's a very quick turnover. Gies has career curated content as well. Your professors will be delivering live lectures with real world scenarios to solve in group discussions or your group projects. You will have cases, case studies, exams, and projects that are relevant and that are going to align with industry and demand. And lastly, our course structure really impacts this by balancing an asynchronous foundational content with a highly engaging lecture from faculty. You've heard Janine and Keisha talk about their interactions with the professors and their fellow students. That in combination with the Coursera component that I'm going to tell you about, it's just a great combination. The asynchronous component of our courses is delivered on Coursera. This is a large educational platform that lets you master the foundational content before ever really having to apply it in a class with your faculty. You are going to have MOOCs, or those are called massive online open courses, that are included in every Illinois course. These actually consist of pre-recorded videos from your professors, some quizzes, some reading assignments, and also some peer evaluations. We think of Coursera a little bit as kind of like your virtual textbook in your class. So it's going to be very helpful with your foundational material. In addition to the asynchronous Coursera work, you are going to have this high engagement component in every course. This builds upon those MOOCs that you're going to have from Coursera. But in addition, then you're going to have live weekly lectures that are offered at several times in a day. You really just have to attend one, and there is a recording if you can't make your class. You will have group projects where you're paired up with 4 to 5 other students. You will have case studies, discussions, and as Janine said, there's office hours each week where you can visit with your professor and your TAs to kind of flush out what you covered that week. The Coursera MOOCs and the high engagement component, they just really work well together. And then once you have that base level, you'll be able to apply the content that you've learned from your professors to truly master some of these business skills. We offer 3 online degrees that really allow anyone to lead as a business professional. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview. We're not going to get too deep into this, into our online graduate degrees. We offer 3 master's programs. The first one here is the Master of Science in Accountancy. Some quick facts. The total cost is $20,000 to $27,000. This includes all tuition and fees. This is a range just because we do offer some non-accounting courses that you can choose as electives. And those are a different cost than the accounting elective. So that's why you see a range there. The iMSA takes anywhere from 18 to 36 months. This is going to speak a little bit to our flexibility, and you'll notice this throughout all 3 master's programs, but you really can pace the program to fit your schedule and your needs. You can take 1 course, or you can take 2 courses each 8 weeks. That's entirely up to you, and that's going to put you either on the 18 or the 36-month timeline. And then for the iMSA, we have 2 start dates, January and August. Just a brief overview of the curriculum for the iMSA. You will complete 32 credit hours. 20 of those hours is going to be in the core curriculum, and that's going to be in this left white box. You're going to cover basic accounting analysis 1 and 2, managerial accounting, auditing, and federal taxation. And then you'll complete 12 credit hours. We do have 3 predetermined elective paths that you can take, but you also can make your own path if you'd like. We just require that at least 4 credit hours must come from non-accountancy courses. The iMSA application does actually have 2 prerequisites as well that are required. You have to have a business management course as well as a financial accounting course in order to apply. And then if you haven't taken a course in either of those, we do have some Coursera courses that we can offer that will satisfy those prerequisites. The Master of Business Administration, the iMBA program here at Gies, does cost $22K, or I think it's right around $22,500, but that includes everything, which is great. We also do have a pay-as-you-go model, so you only pay for each class that you're registered in. So it is kind of nice. It's got a little bit of a financial planning element built in for you. This program you can complete in 2 to 3 years. If you take 2 courses every 8 weeks, you'll be done in 2 years, which is amazing. If you just take 1 course each 8-week term and maybe double up once or twice, you would be on the 3-year timeline. And lastly, this program, the iMBA, has 4 start dates: August, October, and January and March. This curriculum has a few more credit hours, 72 credit hours for the iMBA. 48 of those hours are going to be in your core curriculum. You will complete 4 specializations. Each of those specializations has 3 courses within them, and those are going to be listed here on the left: strategic leadership, managerial economics, value chain management, and financial management. And then this box on the right talks a little bit about our focus area specializations. You will have to choose 2 of these choices, and each of those has 3 courses within them as well. And really one great thing about the iMBA is that you get to cater your MBA to your career or interests by choosing these focus areas. And then we also did just add a mergers and acquisitions specialization as well. So that's super exciting. And then there is one other path called the elective path. If you'd rather just kind of choose 3 electives from any of the specializations, you're welcome to do that as well. And finally, to round out your iMBA, you will complete 2 capstone projects on 2 of these specializations, and then you'll have 1 program capstone the month before you graduate. Our last online master's degree is the Master's of Science in Management, the iMSM. This is a great program. This degree costs just $11,000, and you can finish it in 1 year, and you will have your Master's in Management. Pretty cool. You can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years, but it is kind of nice that you would be able to have a whole degree in 1 year. This also has 4 start dates as well: January, March, August, and October. The curriculum for the iMSM, you'll complete 36 credit hours. 24 are going to be these 6 courses on the left. Those are the same courses that are in our iMBA program as well. But then you'll be able to add on 3 electives in this box on the right, where you can choose one of our predetermined paths, or you can also just kind of make your own elective path. The iMSM is great. It's really going to give you the skills in leadership and management to impact your career, and it's only going to take you a year to do that. So it's a really great program. So I am going to introduce, or have Chaudhuri introduce himself, but he is a current student in the iMSM program right now. So Chaudhuri, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Kate. Hello, everyone. So I started the program in August 2020. So this is actually my last semester. I'm glad that I'm done. My background is actually in electrical engineering. I did my undergrad and then went to grad school for electrical engineering as well. So business is actually very different than anything else I'd studied. So I just wanted a program that was fairly agile and focused. I was contemplating between the iMSM and the iMBA program. I ended up choosing the iMSM because it was shorter and aligned a little better with my career goals.
Great. You were part of the first class, I believe, because we launched it in August of 2020. So that's great.
That's correct. Yeah.
You mentioned like one thing, but what else kind of drew you to the iMSM program?
In terms of engineering, I feel like I'm very focused in what we do. I currently work in renewable energy, and for me to move up the ladder, I felt like I needed to be exposed to a few more things. So project management comes to mind. It's a course that as an iMSM student, I ended up doing, and I really enjoyed it. And it turns out I was already using some of these concepts. I just didn't know that I was using them. So just as Keisha mentioned, having that framework and knowing the right terms makes a difference. Janine mentioned leadership in teams. I feel like that is a course that can be applied across the board to any industry, and that has actually been helpful for me as well. But in terms of, say, something like marketing or accounting, which I'm actually currently taking, I feel like it's a little more role specific. So, hopefully in the next role that I end up taking, I'll have a little more freedom to explore some of those.
Mm-hmm. So learning some things, yeah, that you don't have experience in. What has been the most challenging course in the program that you've taken, and why?
I feel like I was a little apprehensive about taking accounting, which is why I kind of left it for the last semester. But it is actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. It's not the math part that scares me, but I feel like it's a lot more creative than I expected it to be, and I'm kind of actually really enjoying it. But other than that, just managing time on the weekends is a little taxing because I work full time. So just I do take one course at a time to kind of lighten the load. But other than that, just engaging with teammates. We do sometimes work on the weekday nights as well, especially for projects, group projects. It's like weekends are not adequate enough. You kind of need to put in a little work on the weekday nights. So just trying to manage that while working can be a little taxing sometimes.
What was your, you mentioned maybe possibly choosing the iMBA versus the iMSM. What was your thought process there, and why did you choose the iMSM?
I felt like the duration of the program, the 1 to 2 years, was more in line with what I wanted to do. So I feel like that was the defining factor. Because if I was working at the same pace in the iMBA program, it would probably take me 3 years, which is a little too long, in my opinion. Like I already went to grad school once. So like, yeah, I just wanted something a little more focused.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Let's jump right back in, and we will come back to our panelists. Oops, sorry about that. Actually, that was our presentation and just giving you an overview of the master's degrees. We would love to have some questions for our panelists from our attendees. This is your chance to talk with the current students to get some real honest feedback too. I'm going to take a look at some of the questions. Actually, let me stop sharing my screen so I can look at that. Okay, so here's a great question. Keisha is going full time now and says that she will complete the program in 2.5 years. How long would it take to attend the program part-time? So the majority of our students are full-time working professionals. And so full-time is considered taking 1 or 2 courses at a time. It's not really like a traditional residential program where you're living there and you're a full-time student and you don't have a job. So Keisha, or I guess Keisha, can you share maybe like the amount of work it takes to take 1 course or 2 courses in a week?
Sure. So my first semester, which would have been last August to December, as Kate said, the semesters kind of split up into 2 8-week blocks. So for the first 8 weeks, because I had no clue what I was in for, I decided to just take 1 course. And that went smoothly. It was certainly a nice reintroduction into studying, and it allowed me to really balance school and home life and whatever else was going on. After that, however, I felt like, okay, this is doable. So I added, for the second 8-week, I added a second course. I was doing 2 in that second 8-week time. At the end of the day, yes, you're going to have to put some work in and you have to find your rhythm. So yes, for me, being a full-time student right now, my rhythm has to be shared between being a mom, being a wife, studying, and, you know, just figuring out what works. So everyone's situation is different, but my one word of advice is to really assess what your context is, what your situation is, and what feels good to you. Because at some point I realized that I found I was spending too much time focusing on one thing and not the other. So I needed to just kind of make a shift. But I think that is unique to each person. You're going to have to put work in if you want to get the results that you want, but you're still the other person who is not a student, and you need to find that balance.
Yeah, that's often hard, just starting out at the beginning. Along those lines, also, someone's asking for Chaudhuri, how many hours approximately do you have to spend per week in your iMSM courses?
I would say it kind of varied quite a bit, depending on the course. On average, I would say maybe 8 to 12 hours.
Okay, taking just one course.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excuse me. Question for Janine, is your employer supportive of you pursuing an iMBA?
Yeah, definitely. So I work in higher education, so I'd hope they would be. But yeah, I really, at the beginning, I wasn't even sure if I needed to talk to my employer about it because it's so flexible. I didn't have to, I could do outside of work hours. So I worked the traditional 9 to 5. There were class options that were outside of the 9 to 5s, but I have a great relationship with my boss. So let him know. He was very supportive of it. But that's been also helpful because there have been times where maybe there's office hours during the day and I have the ability to flex my time a little bit, go to office hours during the day, and then work a little bit later too. So yeah, that was helpful.
That'd be great. It'd be hard to complete a program when your employer wasn't supportive.
Mm-hmm.
For the iMBA students in the panel, here's a question. How have you handled the more quantitative heavy courses?
I would probably say it depends on your background. I've worked with people before who come from a very quantitative background. And so for them, that was easy, but the more qualitative courses was difficult. I think for me, as someone who's working full time, and my job is more than a 40-hour week kind of job and doing about 2 classes at a time, I have tried to balance quantitative with qualitative courses. So I've tried to make sure that I've got, if I'm taking 2, it's not too quantitative or it's not too qualitative. Otherwise, there's a lot of writing or there's a lot of numbers. And so that's been really helpful for me, balancing those 2 out. And then also I've found some of the quantitative ones probably be more challenging. Utilizing study groups and office hours, like I've talked before, has been really helpful. They also offer, like for accounting and some of the finance courses, there's also like an onboarding skills course that you can take through Coursera. So I actually did that before my accounting class. I did that over my Christmas break, took that basic skills because I'd never taken an accounting course before. And that was really helpful for going in to feel a little bit more prepared. So it wasn't all completely new.
That's a great point. I think they share those with you in like the new student checklist, right? And just let you know ahead of time. You can take them at any time, but I think it would be helpful to take them right before, the stats class or that class. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Question for Keisha. What are your future professional goals and how will the iMBA help you get there?
So, like I shared with you or alluded to, I really have a passion for employee engagement, and I really believe, and it's endorsed through the leadership program, that leaders help employees to succeed and employees help businesses to succeed. So there really needs to be a marrying of the relationship. So my goal personally is to provide consultancy services to help bridge that divide between business strategy and employee performance, because I truly believe that if we lead employees where they need to go, they will follow and they will give their all. And the program has really emphasized that for me, because for a while I thought I was a crazy person and this was just all in my head. But I came to the iMBA and a lot of those values were underscored through the program. And now I feel really, all fired up to do this thing that I've been carrying around in my heart for a long time. So.
Great. Question for Chowdhury. Do you find the group assignments challenging, and how often do you have group assignments?
I would say every class has about 2 group assignments, some possibly more than that. I find them more fun than challenging. I feel like the collaborative atmosphere is just super interesting. People are generally from all over the place. They started out as basically other students, but at this point they're friends. Some of them based in Europe, some are based in other parts of the US, some in Asia. But it's just a lot of fun, I feel like, to collaborate. And they're all very driven individuals. So I feel like I've picked up quite a few things from them as well.
Okay. Can anyone talk about the advising team, or how you get a hold of an advisor, or what kind of advice they can give? Janine, do you have any experience with the advisors?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how I got a hold of them again. I think I scheduled something online. There was a link that I clicked on, but especially when I first started and I was trying to figure out my schedule and what to take when. And then after about a semester, I decided I want to make a few changes. I was able to meet one-on-one with an advisor through Express Advising and ask questions about, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm planning. Do these classes work well together? Are these classes a good combination? And he was really able to help me give some suggestions. I think if you switch this class into this semester, that's going to be a better pairing. And so that was really helpful for just making sure that I was on the right track, that I was going to graduate in time within my goals, but also that I was pairing my classes together well in a way that wouldn't be too overwhelming with my crazy schedule.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any other different experience? Excuse me. Okay, let's. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say not particularly different either. So I think I met up with an advisor in the second 8-week part of my first semester, and it really was, what is the word? Clarifying. It really was clarifying, because, just trying to get all the courses in your mind, kind of down on paper, to see, okay, as Janine says, how do these things work together? And just going back to what Chowdhury was talking about in terms of interacting with people from all over, you get feedback as well from the community, because there's a rich, vibrant workplace community that's always willing to share ideas and share recommendations for, okay, how you pair courses, what's your background? Well, okay, try this instead. I mean, you have questions, you shoot one out and you get lots of feedback coming in. So that also helps. But of course, you have the official channels of the advisors to also, bring some clarity.
Okay. There's some questions in here about just kind of differentiating between the Coursera component and the high engagement stuff. Like what are peer evaluations in the Coursera component? Can anybody explain that?
Yeah, so within Coursera, you will, in some of the courses, you'll have these peer assignments that you do. And so you're essentially, maybe you're writing a memo that's an analysis of a particular case study, or using the concepts you learned in that course to give suggestions to a business on what they should do. And then you're writing that, and then your peers are evaluating what you've written, and then you're evaluating what your peers have written as well. So I think they call it peer review assignments. Sometimes you'll have one per Coursera course. I've had some classes where there's been 2 per Coursera course, but that's one of the components that you'll have within Coursera.
Okay, just checking some other questions here. as far as the timing goes, differentiating between how much time you spend on Coursera compared to the high engagement component. Is there a big difference? And can you do the Coursera components ahead of time?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do the Coursera ahead of time. And I think that really helps to spread the load. So if you have, so like before I began in August, I had actually done some of the Coursera content before. So I was going into the high engagement, having completed the Coursera content, and it freed me up to do some of the assignments and group work that was required. But then I've also been able to, where I could not do the Coursera in advance, to do that in step with each week's requirement. And yes, it's a little tighter, but then you just require, some serious time management, but it's not doable. It's quite doable.
There's a lot of questions just about how many hours a day that you guys are spending studying, any advice for those watching, just as far as handling the load and kind of if it is this program doable as far as working it into your life and your career?
Yeah, like I would say allocating certain days to the program has been very helpful for me, as opposed to trying to spread it across the entire week. So like if classes are like, say, on Wednesday, I would make sure that I handle the Coursera portion of it before the live session, just so it's still kind of fresh in my head and I'm done with that section. Then I can only focus on the high engagement section. So I think separating that out has been very helpful for me, and I've tried to do that throughout the program.
And alternatively, if you do not have a full day to dedicate to it, what has helped for me would be weekends. So maybe on a Saturday evening into Saturday night, or Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. And outside of that, just take like blocks of time throughout the week, maybe 2 to 3 hours a night, just going over the content, especially, remember, no business background, the quantitative stuff, just taking the time to just go over a module, because sometimes a Coursera video may be 11 minutes, 15 minutes, but it takes a while to really assimilate the information and understand, because yeah, you can kind of listen through quickly, but if it is you really want to engage with it and understand and make the connections as you build module upon module, then you want to take the time and make the notes and make the connections. So the program is very flexible and it fits into your schedule. You just have to determine, okay, this week I can dedicate a day. Next week is going to be 5 days, 2 to 3 hours a night, and I'm going to get it done.
I would also add, for courses with a lot of qualitative sections, like such as marketing, it definitely took me a lot longer. The quantitative stuff, not a problem, but that's potentially because of my background. But like something like marketing, case analysis, definitely much more time consuming.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on your background too. Everybody's different and what you're going to be successful in. None of you were admitted via the performance-based admissions track. Is that correct? Okay, there's a couple questions about that. I just wanted to touch on that. That is another pathway into our programs, where if you don't quite meet our GPA requirement, or perhaps you don't have the professional work experience, and basically you're admitted, you'll go through the same application process, and if we determine that's the right path for you, you'll take 2 for the iMSA and 3 courses for the iMBA and the iMSM. And you have to get a B or better in at least 2 of the 3 courses and an overall GPA of 3.0, and then we will automatically admit you. So just a great pathway to, some students looking back 20 years ago, they maybe didn't work as hard on their GPA, they wish they had, or maybe you had you don't quite have the work experience to meet the iMBA requirements. but just a really great opportunity. So if you have further questions on that, you can definitely reach out to us. And then one other question I see here, did any of you three submit your GRE or GMAT scores for your application?
I actually had my GRE scores from my graduate degree from before, but it was already expired, but I still submitted it. I'm not sure if it counted towards it.
Yeah, just to touch on that, we actually don't require the GRE or the GMAT scores, and probably less than 5% of our students submit that in their application. If you have taken it and you did great, please, submit that with your application, because that will just be a great or an additional data point for us to evaluate, but it's definitely not necessary. Okay, I guess I wanted to just, as we're nearing the end here, I'm going to just touch on a couple wrap up screens, and then maybe we'll give everybody one last chance to share their experience, something about their experience in the program. But I did want to touch on, and great questions, by the way. Thank you so much for everybody's excellent questions. Let me get this. As far as wrapping up here, I did want to share our next deadline for the fall term. We just kind of opened up the fall applications. All three programs have a priority 1 deadline of May 5th. A priority deadline means that you won't have an application fee for this first deadline. You have early access to networking platforms. That's something actually I wanted you all to touch on too. You have early access to Coursera for Illinois. If you're applying to a scholarship, you will be eligible to apply then during our priority 1 and 2 deadlines. And then lastly, you will have priority registration. So these are all really great benefits of applying early. If you prefer to contact us, you can contact me. Allison can put my email into the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. But Gies Online at illinois.edu is our main email. And then we also have a phone number 217-300-2481. We do have that staffed periodically. Email is probably the best. We do get through all of our emails every day, so we will guarantee that you'll hear back from us. But I just wanted to say thank you. We'll answer a couple more questions here. But the questions just have been so great. And just as I close out here, can someone talk a little bit about the networking opportunities in the program? That is one thing that I kind of forgot to touch on, that workplace and some of those things. So if you each could maybe tell us about one great networking opportunity or how you've networked in the program, that would be great. Keisha, do you want to go first?
Sure. So like I mentioned before, I don't think I mentioned the name, but Workplace is a very vibrant community. And like I said, you can get help there, you can make connections there. So recently, someone posted about, their workplace, there's some vacancies and whatnot. And I mean, I don't live in the US, I live in Trinidad and Tobago, but the organization was one that I was really interested in. And, the student said, any questions, DM me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to DM you. And out of that conversation, I learned a lot more about the company. She introduced me to some people at the organization. And, what I really wanted out of that connection was just the opportunity to be engaged and to learn from this organization. And so they hooked me up with some resources, and I'm going through that now. Where do I have the time? I don't, but I'm making the time because it's really something that I want to do. So it's really, I want to say it's a very giving community. There's a lot more to benefit from the program than just, the classes. So I encourage everyone to, if you think this is for you, absolutely come on board.
Great, thank you. Janine?
Yeah, maybe I'll talk. And I know someone asked about in-person experiences. So there's something every fall, takes place in September. It's called iConverge. And it's a chance for all students who are in the iDegree programs, also alums of the program as well, to come to campus, meet in person, get to see the campus. And I was able to go in September. Which is easier for me because I'm in the Chicagoland area, but we had people from all around the world, all around the states who came in for that. And it was such a great opportunity to see the campus for the first time, see the places where our videos were filmed, the studios where our videos were filmed, but also meet people in person. And that was a great networking opportunity that was built in all throughout the weekend to get to know people and connect. And that just, yeah, it was fun to meet people in real life that you've seen on screens as well.
I was able to attend too. I can't remember if I met you there. It was a lot of people, but it was a really, really great event. And you really get to meet the leadership team. And so thanks for bringing that up. Chowdhury, do you have any other networking advice or experience in the program?
Sure. I'm sad to say I missed iConverge last year, but hopefully maybe this year I'll be there. In terms of workplace, that's the platform that we use to kind of collaborate and coordinate stuff. There's obviously a component in terms of career advice and people sharing vacancies and whatnot, as Keisha pointed out. In terms of classwork and just getting info about courses, like say, I want to take an accounting course next semester, how difficult is it? Asking like past students is just a super helpful way to get more information without getting scared of something. And they offer solid advice. I feel like I'm on Workplace pretty much every day, same as like LinkedIn and Facebook, perhaps. So it's definitely a platform that I go on quite a bit.
That's great. I love Workplace because it's a platform for the students, and I love watching obviously I communicate on there because I know I can get a hold of everybody quickly, but it's just, yeah, it's really a great platform. So I think on that note, we've had so many questions, but we're nearing the end of our time together today. I wanted to say thank you to Keisha, Janine, and Chowdhury. Thank you so much. This was really informative, and I loved interacting with you, and hopefully all of our attendees learned something about how Gies can help you even with your background not being, the typical business background. So I appreciate all the information that you shared. If you guys have questions, please reach out to us. We are available, but you have all that information. So I am going to close this out here, and I hope everybody has a great evening.